go a bit slower. We are going to be dealing with the main story, but it's going to be about. It's mostly going to take place in the days following, in the days you guys were moving towards it, because not much was expanded upon.
Okay.
So,
Tommy, what are you watching now?
Monty, our 2-year-old male daughter, is getting mobile.
What is?
Are we in the cart, or are we just walking along the path?
they're walking along the path. The cart has been abandoned.
It is not my fault. I'll say that.
Technically,
It isn't your fault.
No, he hid in the carriage, didn't he? It's kind of his fault.
No,
Yeah, but he didn't cause it.
I hid on top of the carriage, not in it.
No, you and Ross were hiding in the carriage.
Hey, I had perfectly good reason to hide.
His leg's moving.
I don't want to go into it. Are we saying this all in character or out of character? I just gotta wonder.
I technically didn't hear him go off, so I assumed this was out of character.
Yeah, it was out.
Okay.
Point being, this will take place in the second and third days of travel between a vignette of sorts, not of anything regarding the main story, but rather of the conversations and interactions and possibly even a few chance encounters you had with the wildlife, with each other, and even with the group you're traveling with.
Oh.
If that makes sense. Is
Yeah,
that something you guys want to do?
I don't see why not.
He's a little bit sensitive on this left side, which sometimes means that there's some inflammation of the gums, like gingivitis, and so some of that comes from having tartar. We want to clean off what's there and
Is that good with everyone else besides me and?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the rest of you guys to sign off before I start.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
It was a little nerve-wracking for all of us.
Yeah, like I said, it's fine with me. I good with whatever.
Hopefully these new meds that he'll be on for a few days will help with the inflammation.
So, on the first day, you had just met and made a tenuous agreement with an orcish war chief and the small group of mountain-dwelling goblins that were traveling with him. You, Alicia, Toki, Ross, and the rest started moving. The cart driver is nowhere to be found. The 2 guards were killed, buried. So, eventually, things started to slow down. Travel came from simple walking, from outright running to simple walking. At this time, you of the less, what would the word be? Ruggedly built of the group were able to catch your breath. That being most of you. Alicia was able to keep up fairly well.
Not me.
Yeah, no. Necro, you have some experience with physical exertion due to your training in martial weaponry. Red, the life of a bounty hunter is not one that lends itself to constant physical exercise. You have a decent amount of constitution, but this is starting to wear on you. You look back, though, and you see Octavius is essentially dying.
Here, I thought I was weak.
Yeah, no.
You.
Who's to be expected when he spends all his time sleeping with women?
You think you'll gain some endurance by that?
Well, if he's the one leading the way, maybe.
I can fuck all your mothers in one night.
You hear a sort of
My mother's
shrill
dead.
chuckling as Octavius, Necro, and Octavius, Azrael, and Red, you all look over and see one of the goblins that was straying behind close to you is losing his shit at that comment.
I'm gonna call back. My mother's dead.
And I'll castrate you before you get closer.
Nothing from Octavius.
I'm currently trying to not die from breathing.
Yeah.
Do I? Oh wait, I should check.
Oh yeah, that reminds
Alright.
me.
Well,
If something
Could I-
horrible happens to this party, I'm definitely rolling a sorcerer because I found out some bullshit they can do.
well, aside from the sorcerer of thorns being able to fly whenever he casts spells,
No, double spell, double casting haste.
oh, yeah, I think if something terrible happens to this, I'm just gonna make an artist for, but go for the alchemy.
Yeah, roll the bard.
All right, back on topic. I'm, weirdo. Do you think we should do something to help him? I'm talking to Azil. I'm going to say Noctis. I'm talking to Noctis when I say that.
What kind of help?
I don't have anything on me that could possibly strengthen him or trick him into becoming stronger.
Neither do I.
Maybe we should catch up with them later. I mean, I'm not the only one that knows their way to the capital, right?
From here? In the middle of the woods?
In general, I wandered a bunch.
Can I make a constitution roll to pass out?
That'd be a Constitution save. You don't fail. You're not that weak.
I'm gonna let's stop and think for a second. I'm actually looking over my spells. My one of the only spell I have that I absolutely love.
People.
Oh, I figured this out. I'm gonna cast this spell twice. And do the harmless tremors and create a loud roaring noise from behind Octavius.
Yeah, so
Make it sound like something big. Make it seem like something big, and something very ferocious is coming up from behind him.
for who? Octavius?
Yeah.
Octavius, roll a perception check.
Natural 20.
You've given your past of traveling with And you use this term very nicely, charlatans, people who generally make it their life's work to cast illusions to trick people and get money because of these illusions. You know right away this isn't real. And do you even react?
Oh no, Red, it's your mother.
So what do I
Red,
roll for
make
that?
a wisdom save.
Okay. I'll make a wisdom save.
Damn.
Red, it didn't work.
Yeah, oh god, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm not sorry. I'm very happy that happened. I'm just gonna point back and say, sure it's not yours?
I know very well it's not mine.
Yeah, that was just the worst comeback ever. Anyways, let's keep moving. Pick one
Well-
here now. How many times have you tried using that against me?
Using what?
Vicious mockery.
You? This once.
No, you've done it like a few times.
Not with this
No, he
character.
hasn't. It's just the once.
This time, I could have sworn you used it against me once, other time before this.
Maybe against your other character.
No, against Chris, because the other character lightly mocked him, like friendly mocked him. This is like the first person I ever outright mocked. First time I ever had someone outright mock him. Well, anyways, back on topic.
So,
It's going to be a fairly intense.
for the most part,
We'll be spending a lot of time with Patty in order to make sure that she's staying healthy through all
you,
this. But tuberculosis in elephants
as
is
real,
something that's treatable.
roll a perception check.
Perfect scenario.
5. But my passive is 13.
It's like they're either really good at courtship.
You don't notice the
Or they're really good at sitting on the eggs, but they're not. They can't. be
rather
really good.
large carrion
I
birds.
do not trust the thud and serendipity.
You only notice one of them, a rather small vulture. For
But it looks like somebody's after Octavius.
I'm gonna break out laughing at that.
So, what you don't notice is that there are dozens of these birds. Hell, probably even 50.
They're lesbians. Yeah.
Most of them,
It would be great to have this female pair that get along well.
most of them don't seem to do anything. Keep their distance, flutter to, they flutter from the occasional tree that does grow in the mountainous areas. But for the most part, they keep their distance. A few do get close. Though they just look like ordinary vultures. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Do me and does me and Octavius notice this, or are we too busy like bickering? You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Christopher, you don't notice this because you're currently having a pissing contest with Octavius. So, Azriel, you're the only one that notices the bird.
A lot of silence.
Yep.
So,
Regardless, so
dude,
Okay, that was one girl.
the birds. The birds, did they do anything?
so yeah, for the most part, Azrael, you're the only one that notices the birds. You look to the orc in the front and notice he's noticed the birds too. Your eyes meet for a second. Do you say anything? The two of you have locked eyes for a quick second. Do you say anything?
I just shrug.
He like glances to the birds and sort of gives you a questioning glance.
Okay, take a closer look on the birds.
Roll a investigation check.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Doing some fresh thinking.
You notice a few of them look a bit too full for birds that live in an area like this where food would be rather sparse.
In his telepathically, I'll tell him they look a little plump.
So, for the most part, all you really notice is, aside from the fact that they seem a bit more well than usual, nothing out of the ordinary. At least that you can find. A few of them seem to have their bones sort of protruding from the skin slightly, not enough to break it, but more just like the skin is tightly pressed against the bone in certain places, specifically the neck and parts of the wings.
know we were having dinner tonight. Hands-offs, more travels, or more touchdowns. Get the immune support that gives you more. Airborne
By any totally orc, by any chance, is that normal?
Airborne.
Ever since the scourge, yes. Animals die, bodies left. Meat only suitable for those that eat the dead.
Now more than ever, don't miss all
Are they cursed?
with a special 4-park Magic Select ticket.
The dead wear the taint.
You are amazing.
And he sort of like shrugs to the birds. Their bodies hardened. They can digest. They can handle it. Our kind can't. I know from experience.
It wasn't fancy.
Okay then. Gonna stay quiet on that.
Bring your phone.
As he just sort of grunts
The what?
and keeps moving forward.
Like, what was that?
Loading pistols.
Safari. Oh, the
All right.
safari. The private safari. Behind the scenes stuff.
Christopher and Octavius, roll in perception checks. Necro, roll one as well.
Perception. 1.
All right, so Christopher, you get the faint whiff of something foul on the wind. You hear the flutter of wings, and suddenly all these goddamn birds just seem to start flying past you. Where the hell did these things come from?
Sorry, I forgot to change to push to talk for a second because someone was talking to me. I'm gonna climb a tree real quick and take out my gun. Roll acrobatics.
Okay. 1 second. There's no tree branches that can support your weight.
Oh.
Do you still want to climb up one?
I'm going to get a good distance away then. Like more than 30 feet away from anything. Just drop to a knee and try to use my leg as a support for the weapon.
All right. Octavius, there's a lot of birds all of a sudden. And they're all moving in one direction. This is weird.
Oh, that cannot be good.
The one thing you do notice is they're all vultures. You're
That's
getting
really not good.
Yeah, you're getting some bad memories. You do notice that one of Azrael, you're busy loading your pistols. You don't notice anything.
As much science as we have.
Then there's the other guy. Then there's the...
And it just appears that we're not having much.
Well, the orc. You hear him audibly sniff the air, just...
Don't have a squad, but I wouldn't say it's been a complete
He turns back to you, to the rest of you. Stay close. He then barks something in... I'm assuming none of you speak Orcish.
No,
I wish.
Yeah, but he's not here.
He is, but you don't have to tell us because he's not here.
Oh no, that's what I fully intended. I just wanted to make sure.
I speak Common and Infernal. I don't speak Orcish.
The ice skate's sort of like a puzzle. They have to figure out how to get the fish out of it in order to eat it. So Monty won't be cracking the ice with his teeth. He'll be hopefully melting it and eating the fish out of it.
So, aside from him shouting something in Orcish, what else happens?
The goblins start.
Monty took his ice tree right away. This is the first time I've seen this happen since
The goblins all seem very agitated. A majority of them ready bows.
One of my first weeks as senior keeper in Jungle World. So I got
Please
this
see me on his left side.
As
an adult right now.
they begin...
Having such a history with Monty makes me really happy seeing him starting to be a little more.
You notice
himself, all is well in Otterland.
the orc has taken out his great axe.
Oh fuck! I draw my rapier.
You come over you crest over the small ridge. You come down to see a line of trees, a small grove even. Unfortunately, the smell of rot hits you full on. The trees are all dead. The smell of rotting flesh and something being burned hangs heavily in the air. The flurry of wings and screeches from the carrion birds drowns out any possible noise, any possible words that could be spoken as they mob something attached to each of the trees. There must be at least 60 of them. And appetite loss, stomach pain, and bleeding or bruising. Blood clots that can lead to death have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have pain or swelling in your arms or legs, shortness of breath, chest pain, rapid breathing or heart rate, or if you are pregnant, nursing, or plan to be pregnant. Do you try to say something, or do you just stay silent and wait for the birds to leave?
I'm going to stay silent the entire time, but like be very ready to fire if I have to.
Ask your doctor about every day
What
it was
the
on
hell?
you.
Glad you're back. How you feeling?
That's what I say. I say what the hell in Sylvan, because it sounds more funny, probably.
A few of them kind of look at you a bit funny, but for the most part, no, they don't. None of them can understand Sylvan to begin with, so none of them really pay attention. The goblin's ready each to knock an arrow, and the orc sort of steels himself. Eventually, you hear this one scream from the birds that sounds cut short somehow. With that, all the birds seem to go into a panic as they all fly off in a hurry. Molted feathers dropping from them as they do. Upon each tree is a corpse strung up.
Of course it is.
Yay!
The only problem is a few of them are still moving.
Oh!
I'm going to fire at one of the moving ones, if that's okay.
Dude!
Okay. Roll an attack.
Wait, are they?
11.
It blows a chunk of flesh off from the side of it, but considering the fact that most of the flesh and blood that was on its body was gone, you really didn't do much. You shattered a few ribs, but
Wait, are these people still alive? Like, as in, do they still have humanity, or are they completely gone?
You're about 60 feet. You really can't tell. All you can tell is all of these things are mangled to high hell. Most of them have the majority of their flesh just stripped off their bodies. The rest, only 2 of them still have some flesh covering their bodies. Most of them don't have flesh on their... Most of them still have flesh on their heads and faces, though some of them still have like pock marks where some birds got in a lucky stab. One of the corpses, the one on the far right, because the clearing is organized where it's like the trees are lined in a bow facing towards you. The one on the farthest right and the furthest from you appears to have something clutched in what could be called its teeth. The corpse of a rather large bird.
I'm gonna walk up to the orc. I forget his name. Was it Urok?
Let me check, because I actually wrote it down this time.
Gurash.
We never actually... Did you ever actually say the name of the orc we're working with?
Yeah, he did.
Gudesh.
Gudesh?
Gudesh?
Guresh.
I'm not going to miss the mask. It's all for the
Is it
benefit of the...
safe to go down there?
How are we going to set up first?
He sort of scratches his chin for a second, thinking.
And a couple little surprises in that hat.
He barks something in Orcish to the goblins, who stay up and like keep their bows at the ready.
When I was younger.
Like shit.
You cut out.
Sorry. What did you hear?
That's it.
Oh, I check, and then he heads down.
I'm gonna follow him with like the muzzle of my cannon while reloading. Just like to make sure that I can hit whatever may come, or whatever may happen.
Ready a shot if any birds get too close.
Or anything else that could get too close. I do
Yeah,
have a
I'm
pretty
keeping
far
an eye
range.
on both of them as they head in, readying a spell just in case.
I'm not going in. I'm staying with you. I'm just following him with my weapon.
Oh. He sort of looks one over, kind of. He approaches the closest one, which would be the one directly in the middle.
I'm gonna miss Happy probably most. She's just got a really good heart, I think.
He barks back to one of the goblins again in Orcish. This one was slightly larger than the rest. He seemed a bit taller, a bit more muscular. He was the one carrying a satchel and a sack or two. And he went down, and he goes down and sort of starts rifling through them. He starts handing them out. He starts handing out these small bottles, clay jars almost, with stoppers in them to each of the goblins.
Oh, I know what he's doing.
Okay.
That removes a flint and steel. And in each of them is a small sort of rope. A small form of rope.
I think I figured out what he's doing.
Yep. He's lighting them up. You said
Each of the goblins.
You said there was something in like a mouth of a bird on the right?
Oh no, one of them had a bird in its mouth.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood what you said.
That's why all the birds scattered. One of them got killed.
Is that one still alive? That one guy? One person?
I'm guessing, if anything, he's not alive, but, you know.
So,
Well, anyway.
for the most part, things after that, you watch as each one in turn starts going up in flames. This pungent black smoke billowing off of them the moment their bodies go alight. Most of them don't even make a noise. As you notice, most of them have their vocal cords ripped out of their throats. In fact, most of them don't even have throats. But most of them still make these violent, jerky movements towards the sun, towards the sky.
Hey, Toki's here.
Oh, hey.
Sorry, gents. I passed out at about 5:45.
No worries. Okay.
Well, you're here.
No, we're just missing Anthony, but I haven't even got a text back from him yet.
Yes, Clarice.
We're watching the goblins burn a bunch of corpses tied to trees that are emanating black smoke. that were getting eaten by infected birds.
One girl almost got eaten for stepping in.
So, what's going on is we were doing a sort of vignette, examining the days before the rest of you came in. Before the rest of you came to the camp. Think of this in terms of the anime. If this were an anime, this is the filler episode where we examine the past few days. Where they are trying to build suspense when obviously they are just planning out the next arc. Granted, that isn't in my case, but we only had 3 of the 5 members, so I was improvising, shall we say. Regardless, Toki, you've seen most of this.
I've seen most of.
Oh wow, really? Tell me more. Okay, I call it the cat.
So does that mean now that Toki's here, the flashback ended?
No, it still goes. We're committed to this, damn it.
All hands abandoned ship. Abandoned ship.
So, Toki, you watched as you saw these goblins go about this ritual of burning corpses that were still moving somehow. I presume you were scribbling notes down about these things the moment you started looking at them.
Oh, the moment I seen any one of them twitch.
Yeah, they were thrashing about pretty violently, at least as much as they could. Most of them didn't have the muscles necessary to even move their arms after a certain point.
And you watch one get a chunk blown off it by a bullet.
And nothing phased. Point being, for the most part, things start slowing down after the bodies start burning. They emit this thick, pungent smoke from them as they go up, and eventually the fires die down. The trees now blackened husks, and the body and the corpses little more than bone.
Fascinating. Very fascinating.
Of course, you find that fascinating.
Do you not?
I will not ever find something that disturbing fascinating.
Oh, but the more disturbing, the more fascinating it is. The fact that they can move a corpse without the work of magic is very fascinating.
You said it's not magic.
I should have warned you. One has to navigate
I did not detect any magic.
I forgot, is he a cleric of the dead?
Knowledge. Alicia's the cleric of the dead.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Though given his proclivities, it's not a far stretch to think that.
Well, knowledge and death are pretty close.
Given my appearance, it's really not hard to think that.
Are there like any still fires going?
So, sorry, Ezreal, what did you say?
What? Nothing.
Thought you
That
did.
was
There's
red.
still fire going.
My bad. Red, you said something?
I asked if there's still any fires going.
No, they've stopped by now.
Darn.
Go investigate the bodies.
You're going to investigate Pone and Ash? Granted, it's a great pastime, but there's nothing really there after burning stops. Plus, I take it that if you step in some of this stuff and it gets on you, the goblins won't be too kind with you anymore. Also, the fact that your blood is yellow and they also didn't like that. So it'd be a 2-for-1.
Well,
I'm saying this without looking up for my book.
where they burned out. Didn't they burn all the toxin away, all the tar?
I don't know how it works.
No, I'm
Yes,
just saying,
I will.
Character.
Eventually.
I'm gonna hope that never happens.
So, yeah, after the fires die down, do any of you want to approach the corpses? Or what's left of them? Which I might add is nothing but charred bones and smoldering ashes.
Octavius is going to look very sunken and grim-faced, and he's just going to do whatever he can to help bury these people. He's in a place right now. He is in a place right now.
Considering you're essentially on a place where there is no soft soil. All there is just pure mountainous rock.
I can make graves from rocks.
I'm gonna pull out, take off my hand axe from my belt and walk over and just kick one of the piles lightly.
All right.
So I'm going to spend time making graves with stones.
And then I'm going to go mock Octavius with fun while helping him at the same time.
So eventually all the bodies are buried.
Oh, while they were doing that, I performed my ritual for to detect disease and poison on these bones, to see if they had any disease or poison while they were,
None. It's most likely because the bodies were burned rather thoroughly.
I'm gonna take one of the bones and actually take.
One of the. You notice a few of the You notice that you do detect. Does detect disease or poison work in a range, or is it on specific objects?
Let's find out.
I would assume it's either.
I was looking at that the other day.
Itself, so.
Within 30 feet.
Within 30 feet of him.
Yeah, no. You don't find anything. You do notice that there appears to be something that registers in your senses as a poison in the goblin's bag, but no poison on the bones, no diseases, no nothing. It's probably because the bodies were rather thoroughly burned away that no trace of whatever malady they had is left.
I'm going to actually cast use my use this sort of thing. Because these could technically count as magical items since they're bodies.
What are you're analyzing the bodies?
I'm analyzing one of the bones to see if I can't just
There's residual magic, but nothing you can find, or rather nothing you can pinpoint. These had traces of magic of some, though given the wide berth that doesn't help.
I'm gonna look over to Toki and say, see, magic. Over drawing the bone behind me.
I then use my ritual to cast Detect Magic.
Okay. Same result. You detect there were residual traces of magic on the bone, but...
Does it give me what kind of school it is?
No. Again, most likely something due to what kind of fuel they were using for the fire, but any traces of possible magic got burned away when the bone was lit up. Again, these things were burned very well, apparently. And obviously they aren't concerned about preserving whatever effects these things are under.
I'll take some notes. Fire that destroys magic.
Yeah. I'm gonna walk on past him. All right.
He looks like he's having a very wonderful time. He actually has a creepy ass grin on his face.
I'm gonna flip him the bird as I'm walking past.
He's not paying attention to you.
All right. So, anyone else want to?
I wasn't here for this, but are these corpses from different species?
Yeah.
They were skinned alive. Tell. You wouldn't have been able to tell.
Not skinned alive, picked apart.
Oh.
These things were left here for the birds.
There are certain features that are like more than just.
So there were small bodies, big bodies.
Most of them appeared medium humanoids.
Okay.
A few of them bear the marks of bones having been broken and repaired several times over. Some of them even have deformed skulls that, from a precursory look over, don't appear to have been fresh wounds, but rather appear to have been very, very old wounds. Most of them aren't fatal, but one or two are.
Question. Considering my experience dealing with corpses, would I have recognized anything on these bodies? Or what's left of them?
No, everything was burned away. You know this kind of strategy, though, very well. Full-blown quarantine. Quarantine, destroy the bodies, prevent the illness. Whatever it is, it's got these people either very freaked out or they've been dealing with it long enough to know this is the only real effective way to prevent the illness from spreading, if it's an illness. But you're starting to get a very strong sense that it is. Or at the very least, it's partially one. You're really not in a good headspace at the moment.
I wanted to help protect myself. My doctor recommended Eliquis. Eliquis is
I'm going to
DVT or PE blood clot. Almost 98%
just
of patients
ignore everything and just kind of try to start walking forward again.
significantly less.
After all the bodies are buried, fuck, what's this?
Give a eulogy.
I'm gonna play a sad song on my trumpet, kind of like to lead them off.
Medical or dental procedures.
You play a rather somber tone.
So as quantity goes up, quality goes down. So how do you explain Popeye's $3.99 chicken and biscuit? Organic, delicious. This makes no sense. Get more than you pay for with 3 pieces and a biscuit for just $3.99.
It helps a small amount, but not much. It mostly just it helps you to express what you're feeling. Eventually,
and strength, which is why we make angel soft with a balance of both.
Ganesh barks out in Orcish, and Toki, you understand this immediately as being... It's essentially just a basic order for the goblins to pack up and get ready to keep moving, and to keep an eye out for any more of the taint.
Hey, I assure you I'm fine. My relationship with Amy was purely intellectual. There were no emotional bonds, the severing of which would cause me any discomfort. The relationship simply outlived its utility. I'm continuing on with my life as before.
Do the rest of you follow or lag behind to keep looking at the bones?
I'm gonna follow. There's no point in this. There's no point in dwelling around.
Octavius stays quiet, and compared to how everyone who's been traveling with him, you have never seen him this depressed.
All right. For the most part, the rest of the day passes without any real notice. Though everybody roll perception checks.
Okay, again, my favorite role.
Are you going to introduce us to your little friend? My apologies, Raj, Howard. I'd like you to meet Dr. Robert Oppenheimer.
Wow, I don't think that should count.
No, it does.
Excuse me.
I like it.
The atomic bomb wants the sauce.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. So, Octavius, the scent of burnt flesh clings to your clothes, but over that somewhat overpowering scent, you still smell the faint notes of rot. But all the bodies are gone.
Wait,
This
so
is something. This is
rotting,
what I'm
but it
about to
wasn't the
send you
bodies.
is something you cannot share with anybody, unless you want to at a later date. But
Wait, I'm sorry, I talked over you. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I talked over half of that.
that you're not allowed to share, unless you
okay.
want to. But that's what you notice.
Okay.
Chris, for the most part, yeah, you notice that the wind seems to bring with it an almost soothing sort of scent of flowers, you think? You come to a small clearing, a small flat area that has what appears to be grass or some form of foliage growing on it, and among them, small flowers. They smell nice, and they help to mask the general burnt bodies that might cover your skin or clothing. Azrael, you're busy with your guns. Toki, you notice the same general thing, that a bit ways off, about 300 feet or so, not anywhere you could actually find it, is a small grove of flowers, and the wind has brought a rather pleasant scent on it. Scent of these flowers to you. They smell nice.
No, she's real. Did they sin? No, it's not like that. It's
Can I identify from this range what flower it is by its scent?
Roll a investigation check at disadvantage.
Investigation. Where's my toggle?
Oh no, wait, this would be nature. Still at disadvantage, but roll a nature check. It's some kind of mountain variant of lilac. They're a fairly rare flower, but they do commonly grow in this area. They're just rare because they don't grow anywhere else. They're a fun fact. Unfortunately, this kind of distracts you enough that you start going on a tangent in your head that surprisingly enough, this flower is actually very well sought out after among Tyrodean nobility. Surprisingly, the flower represents some form of loyalty. Why, you really have no idea. That kind of stuff never really interested you, though it might. Maybe you should start writing about that. You start writing, and you get distracted for the rest of the day.
I love that.
But yeah, no, it's a fairly rare species of lilac, and it has a slightly soothing effect on your psyche.
Rest assured, I am in full possession of my faculties.
Bless you, dear.
So yeah.
All right, but you're not fooling me. Whenever you say we have to talk, it means you want me to listen.
Then stop talking.
All right. So I'm gonna stay on the outside of the grove for very good reasons. And kind of work on maintaining my rifle.
Yeah, so you're not really paying attention.
Yeah, no.
Eventually, you come to the campsite for the night. And here we're going to retcon something because do any of you want to talk?
I'll talk. I don't know who I need to talk to, but I'll talk.
No, you just want to talk with somebody.
I'll talk with Octavius. You seem to be a little bit too quiet. Gonna start by flicking the back of his head. Like, what's
Octavius?
wrong with you?
Wait, who?
You.
I thought it was.
Chris is
I thought you said
talking Octavius.
Noctis.
Yeah, Octavius, you feel someone flick the back of your head.
How long has it been since we've passed the bonfire corpses?
About 5.5 hours. It's getting close to night.
Alright, that's probably enough. The fuck? Why?
You okay?
I'm fine.
Purdue University Google.
Sure, you seemed a little bit spacey back there.
Just a lot of old memories coming back at once.
Yeah. Old memories. They fucking suck.
Yep.
So, I don't know much about you, and we seem to be traveling together. How about we get to know each other a little better?
Right, can we pause this real quick? I need to get a glass of water because my throat's parched.
Go right ahead.
Sorry, I know this is kind of a bad moment, but my throat's starting to get really bad here.
You want to take a 5-minute?
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute breather because I think I just stumbled onto a bit of a heavy subject.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute breather to kind of cool off and come back to this a bit more collected, folks.
I'm perfectly collected, but I'm probably going to get something to drink too.
You know, frolicking through a field of flowers. Oh God, there's bodies.
And then the skeleton in the closet comes out. Skeletons in the closet come out. have we reconvened yet, or? Are we back yet? Or are we still waiting for Brian?
Has it been 5 minutes already?
I don't know. I kind of walked away from any source of time telling to go grab a water bottle.
I'm back.
I'm ready when you all are.
I'm upstairs, but I can hear.
Okay. That seems to be appropriate background music right now. So, you want to go back to me and Octavius talking?
Yes, let's start back up there.
You ready, Mark? Mark?
Literally walked in my door when you started talking.
Oh, sorry. You ready?
Yep. We're picking off where we left off.
So, we are sharing backstories, I believe, if I remember correctly, because my memory blanked out for a second. So, do you want to start sharing, or shall I? Since you know why I'm out, but not the whole story, I guess.
Sure, yours is probably going to be a lot more cheery than mine.
Oh, no. Well, I guess we can start with how old good people are born with their father and mother. My father, let's just say, was a good man. He not all his actions were so good, but he was still a good man. But that led to the ire of some folks within the village he lived in. And after a while, some stuff which honestly can't remember happened. And, well, the whole time I'm out of character. The whole time I'm doing this, I'm accidentally using causing nearby flames to react, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, there's no nearby flames to cause to react, but...
Alright, I'd be causing nearby flames to react, if there was any. Just, back in character. Let's just say life I wasn't always, well, this way. Used to be pretty happy, normal, whatever. Someone that's stable at some point. This entire time I'm sorry, it's hard to find word to describe.
You're a prick
exactly
trying to be nice.
Not try to be nice, but try to be
compassionate?
No.
Empathetic?
No.
Decent?
Yes. Because you notice, let's just say there was a church in the village. I'm still going over backstory, by the way. There was a church in the village that was led by a very, very evil man. He set the town upon us, and to honest, my memory goes hazy, but something happened to my mother. She never said anything after that. And it led to my father's death. He's kind of visibly growing uncomfortable. I'm find it uncomfortable to talk about a lot of times. But led me on this path, and the only way to fix it is by killing the asshole who caused it. I'm done sharing. So
Okay, for my own personal notes, your dad is cursed or died. Your
Dad was
audio
a-
came off weird.
Dad was a warlock. Dad was killed for it. Mom was. You got the hint. I'm guessing you got the hint that she was raped or something. Yeah, Dad was a warlock with a crap, I'm actually trying to remember the proper name.
Violated.
Demonic warlock.
Boom.
Demonic pack.
Sorry. Demonic pack, yeah. He took a demonic pack, but he was.
Fiend.
Yeah, he took the pack of a fiend because, to protect others and everything. Yeah. You've got. But really expanding it out of characters just so it's kind of easier for you to understand, and the rest of y'all can take notes on it if you want later down the line. Father was a warlock, mother was just a normal person. Father was killed, mother other things, and that's where it kind of ends off. For now. So, back in. You got all that? Or do you need more?
No, I got it.
All right.
Yeah, Mark, you're going to need to send me those notes because I don't think I was able to keep up with all the typing, and I'm not going to ask you to repeat that stuff.
You can literally look the characters. I have all that in.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot I have access to everything. My bad. Mark, are you going to insight check him? Because knowing the dynamics of this party, I'm just going to ask immediately if that's what you're doing.
Considering how little I actually know and trust him, I am inciting that.
Okay. Roll an insight check. M, do you want to roll a deception check?
No. I'm being completely honest. Why would I have to roll a deception check?
Octavius? He's a prick, and he's probably lied about a lot of stuff before, but he's being honest. Granted, he's probably being guarded and not saying everything, but everything he's said so far is true.
And the whole time he's explaining all this, he's going up and touching his broken horn, too.
I think you look great. Hi, I'm Jake.
I forgot that little misnomer. He's touching the horn that's broken.
Well, wasn't expecting that.
Full disclosure, full disclosure. Helps to know who you're working with.
Yeah, guess it does. Alright, guess it's my turn.
Alright, give me a second to actually pull up my notes before. This is out of character stuff, so I can actually keep track of all this. Alright. Sorry about that.
You ready to take notes if you need to?
Yeah, I'm almost ready. I am ready.
Alright. I grew up kind of on the east coast of the Imperium. As a farmer. My parents were farmers. Didn't really... It was hard work. Till my mom kind of started moving things that weren't necessarily hers. But it was a nice life. And one day a random bard came to town. I just fell in love with the music, the story he told. I couldn't get enough of it, you know? And then a few years after that, I went to the closest bigger town. I actually have to look the name up of that town for later. And I joined a band of bards. I was young at the time, probably younger than I should have been, traveling on by myself with a group of strangers. But they were good people. I learned a lot from them. About 12 years ago, we ended up at that town that we just were at.
City, but...
City that we were just at.
Bit of a big town, then.
And
Lunatic there.
And there was a plague. No one knew what had caused it. And it just kept spreading. No one knew what was going on. People kept getting sick. We tried to pitch in the best we can. I saw a lot of people just die. It didn't. Kids, old people, whole families sometimes. And they were lucky if it just went peacefully. Whatever this was, well, we found out when we were back in town, it was apparently some necromancers doing some crazy shit. And then I got it. My skin, my hair, I wasn't born like this. I was one of the lucky ones. All that.
You're over in the corner. Bullshit.
Oh yeah, Toki. This entire time you've just kind of been sitting in the corner unnoticed, writing down everything.
Do you mind?
I'm gonna pretty much tell him to fuck off in Inferno. No one who won't understand it, I hope.
Toki, do you speak Infernal?
No, I refuse to speak that shitty language.
You should watch your language. I say Inferno.
But I'm not paying the tiefling any mind. But I say there is no such thing as luck.
Oh yeah. How would you explain the fact that I'm one of the handful of people that disease didn't just kill outright?
It's all in your genetic features that God gave you. You see him, he's not even looking up from his book anymore. The gods.
The gods don't care for humans. Don't care for mortals at all. I'll help you know.
No, they don't. But they do see us as their playthings. So if you don't get behind them and worship them, or you spurn them, they'll burn you to a cinder. But if you become interesting, I say as I slam my book closed, they'll take a great interest in you.
I'm gonna get my feet. Well, fuck the gods and fuck you too.
I don't roll that way, mister, but hey, whatever floats your boat. I put my book in my back pocket.
Maria Gardner is up next. And moving to the
On.
starting line.
Gonna squat down and
Wow, an impeccable start from Gardner.
grit my teeth and almost grinding my teeth. So,
But do please continue your story. It is very fascinating.
sorry, sorry, lover boy. I didn't mean to interrupt your story. I really am interested in learning more about you.
No, I'm a bard. Remember, I'm used to heckling.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that whole mess happened, we continued traveling, and a few years after that, our little caravan decided to go off on our own, or just expand what we know. More story, more people, different ways, more stories, more songs to sing. It was around that time I kind of learned how I wanted to make people happy. I always wanted to make people happy, but after all that, I realized I wanted to connect with people more. I probably knew those people on their deathbeds more than anyone else in that city knew them. I don't want to get that close to someone, but I don't want to be on my deathbed confessing my life to someone else either, and having that be my only last thing I know. So I realized that this hair and this complexion have some advantages, and I wiggle my eyebrows.
Well, dude, calm down. I don't swing that way. I meant it jokingly.
Mark, roll insight.
Oh, so close. That was almost an 18.
Yeah, roll a deception check.
Why would I? I'm really...
There was that one night, you remember?
Ah!
Wait.
You always tell yourself it was for the contract, but...
He didn't even go in. He didn't even actually do it.
Mark, you can't tell if he's just joking or actually lying. You think he's joking, though. If you could, your face would have gone slightly red at the mention of that.
I have to talk to you about something after this.
All right.
Just in kind of character stuff that's not so important to the actual story itself.
You can message me right now, and I'll probably be able to respond.
Oh, yeah. Give me a second. I'm typing it out.
There was real cinematic gold. That movie is Taxi Driver with Dancing. It's a rough, tough movie. People should be offended by everything.
Go right ahead, keep on talking.
All right. as it turns out, there are a lot of people that need more physical support.
And I have now officially lost interest in this story. I hear a bunch of bags shuffle and move as Toki turns around the other way.
Yeah, no, Toki. Like, the part about the plague, that was, like, keeping you enraptured, but the moment they started about, like, touchy-feely stuff, you just kind of tuned out.
Are they hookers? No. So, and that's... Now you've lost me.
Are they hookers?
No, and like that, you've lost me.
Oh, God.
There are financial support. Oh, those are important. We need those, right, Walter? We need those.
Yes, very important, sir. All right.
Oh, God, calm down.
I got a few more lines I need to get out.
Get them all out, and we'll break into the goofiness later.
So I try to find the people that need that kind of support more often than not. And let's just say I don't stick around to see if their husbands that come home. Sometimes. There's a few cities I'm not allowed back in.
Oh, I wonder why.
Toki, you lost interest.
Yeah, you don't get that joke.
I'm taking mental notes of cities to potentially avoid with him.
Yeah, you never gave me that list.
Huh?
He's supposed to get a list of the cities that he's not allowed in, but, you know.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Sorry, I've never been able to get around to that. I've always been occupied. My bad.
And
we'll find out when we get there.
Yep.
We will.
Oh,
yep.
You'll know.
Yep. And I gotta say a couple years because I forget how long it's been. A couple years ago, I found this woman. Ooh. I don't remember much, and I normally have a very good memory when it comes to this stuff, but all I remember is, and he's covering he's looking to the sky, his hand is covering his eyes, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I might love her.
Mark, roll an insight check, and this is more against yourself at this point.
Ooh, I love that. What are you doing?
You'll find out. It's at this point that you kind of snap out of this sort of daze you were in. It wasn't magically induced. It's more because of trauma. Let's face it. You don't know half of these people. The closest one you know is Alicia, and that's because she's paying you, and you make it a good point to know those who pay you very well. Toki's some weird guy that you barely know. Ross rarely talks, and that freaks you out. And Chris has been antagonizing you halfway across this goddamn trip. Azrael's the only one you feel would have a friendship, but you don't know if he'd even care. Why are you talking about this stuff with them? This sort of just dawns on you, but why are you sharing anything about yourself with them? To Chris, you'd understand sharing a bit about your past, but you don't know what came over you. It wasn't magic. You usually recognize that. You find any kind of want to talk further drained from you all of a sudden. You don't know why, it just fades the moment you start talking about her. Maybe you haven't come to terms with it as much as you think you have. Maybe there's still some old wound there that really doesn't want to be picked at, because the moment you say, I think I might love her, this sort of realization just hits you. you don't want to talk about this any further.
Do I kind of pick this up on his face, or
Chris, roll an insight check of your own if you want to try to pick this up.
all right?
You
Should
notice?
I even attempt?
Well, no. The problem is,
I'm picking up.
Octavius, you have a fairly good poker face, so it would have taken at least a 20 to get the exact reason. Chris, you know from experience that Octavius clearly stumbled onto some kind of topic he really doesn't like talking about. You know this from past talking with employers who have a personal connection to the target. Typically, they don't like discussing the exact reason why they're hiring you. If they're personally hiring you, that is. Though you don't understand why in this case.
Yeah, I'm more.
You also don't get the specifics of his realization. You get that the conversation probably won't pick up any quickly from here. It might, but you wouldn't count on it.
I'm gonna. Were we still walking during that, or?
You were sitting in the camp.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go from my formerly squatting position to my standing position, and hold out a hand toward Octavius.
Wait, you're doing?
I guess we should actually. Well, we should properly introduce ourselves. I've been, like, talking by my actual title, not my name.
I just look at you. Like, what?
You really think my name's Christopher the Red, don't you?
Kind of. Like, I'm still confused with what the hell's going on.
He's revealing his secret identity to you.
It's a proper introduction, since, when we actually met, I was antagonizing you and you were antagonizing me back. I guess it's his attempt to be friendly. Never actually had to be friendly towards anyone.
I'm inciting him.
Sorry, I was in something. Yeah, roll insight. Chris?
I'm being perfectly honest.
He's being honest, but something feels off. You don't want to continue this conversation. You just want to go to bed.
I'm not trying to continue the conversation. I'm just doing a proper introduction right now.
Yeah, no. As in, Octavius just doesn't want to keep talking at the moment. And all he wants to do is go to bed. Octavius, in your flaws, add sentimental to a fault.
Add to my flaws?
Yes. Sentimental to a fault.
I've never heard of someone adding that. Adding something.
It's a homebrew rule. People can deal with some messed up stuff, and if not properly treated, it can lead to some very bad habits. With you, it's sentimentality to an extreme. You find it hard to let go of certain things. Grudges, personal possessions. God forbid if your parents die, you might not give up anything they had. But this is a negative trait of your past. You're able to distance yourself from one-night stands, but that girl did something.
You're gonna have to figure out how to work out.
The trait's description is you have trouble giving things up, forgiving and moving on, or forgetting and moving on.
I know. We eat so much.
Keep a note, this is also the system I use for death, but I've modified it as well to apply to faults that are gained through not just death. So, you know. Toki, Azrael, you want to do anything tonight, or you just want to go to bed?
I don't like to talk to Toki.
All right. Toki, you're approached by Azrael.
I look up.
Mind teaching me Orcish by any chance?
Sure. And I go into my bag and I pull out one of my curriculum books and I turn to a page about Orcish. The first lesson is not so well because I'm still a little pissed off about the stories that are going.
Interesting.
All right, so Toki, it takes you a bit to start getting into the groove of teaching a person, but you managed to get in at least 2 hours of teaching Azrael the basics and elements of Orcish. He couldn't speak a sentence or possibly even a word of Orcish, but he could pick up on the basics of it and with a very, very penalized check be able to understand it to an extent. Further training would help alleviate this until eventually he could be able to speak and write it fluently. Well, as much as anybody who's picked up a new language could.
I apologize. I have not teached anybody in a few years. And I closed the book. I closed the book. I've been on this hunters from teaching to go and expand my knowledge on the world.
Would you like to learn language for myself?
You want to teach me a language?
A language for a language. And it could come in quite useful in the future.
I accept.
What would you like to learn? I know Sylvian, Celestial, Deep Speech, Abyssal, Elven, and Infernal.
Let's go with Celestial.
Wait, shouldn't you already know Celestial? Being cleric and everything?
That's not exactly how it works. Much to Toki's chagrin at points.
Okay. Oh, yeah, no, it's a racial thing, not a class thing. What was I thinking?
Some classes have the ability to speak other languages. Like my class comes with two or three extra languages, being the knowledge.
Yeah, I believe knowledge comes with 3.
And then, being human, I get one common language and then one extra language.
Let's see how good I teach.
Better than the teacher. You start teaching him the rudimentaries of Celestial. Now, Toki's a far more adept student than you, so it's much easier. But the point becomes that you start teaching him, and you get a bit further. You get into basic words and basic verbs, pronouns, the things like that of Celestial. Toki, you take extremely detailed notes.
And I run it through Common and Elvish to help me get it. because that's how I did all my studying.
$149 a month for 24 months with $28.49 due at signing. With best-in-class towing and payload, the 2019 F-150 makes...
If there isn't a word in it for common, there's definitely a word in it for elvish.
During the auto show, and take advantage of this $149 F-150 lease offer.
Very true. I said an Elvin.
I offer him a mysteriously rolled cigarette.
Mysterious in what way?
Mysterious as it's a blunt.
He's got some of that.
Oh no, the Church of Corton actually grows several strains of this and far more intense hallucinogenics. Mostly because of their ability to allow imbibers to access the ethereal plane, but you keep...
This is not as strong, and it smells of lavender.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to take very strong strains with you outside of the church. Most of that stuff is kept under lock and key. Also the few times you did it, you wrecked the... Yeah, no. Yeah, the last time you imbibed the stronger variants, you went on a rampage and destroyed several rather priceless books trying to read from them. According to the priests that woke you up finally, you said, "This book can't talk to me," and threw it into a fire. That was how you got your reputation among Corton's priests as a bit of a weird guy. Because even for them, books didn't usually talk. What made them kind of even more weirded out were that there were books that you said did talk to you. The only problem is you can't remember a damn thing from that trip.
No.
But yeah, no, you do produce a blunt, and the lavender does soothe you a bit. It helps to further alleviate stress. Do you light it up?
Of course.
All right.
But I offered him one as well.
I don't share. Take the blunt.
Yep.
All right.
Pass that shit.
Azrael, have you ever done this kind of thing?
Nope.
3 things.
Roll a constitution check.
3 things. It smells of lavender. It comes out purple, and the cherry burns blue.
Yeah, like I said, they have some weird strains. This is like the strongest you were allowed to get out. Okay, you don't react badly, but for the next hour, you are able to see into the ethereal plane.
The fuck?
Like I said, Corton's priests are about expanding the mind and gaining as much knowledge through whatever way possible. He is the epitome of a neutral good, or lawful neutral god. So long as it gets to his goals, he doesn't care what he has to do.
So, quick question. It's burning, right? You know, I can recognize it's burning. Like a fire burning.
Sorta. There's no flame. It's just smoldering, really.
Would I technically be able to change the color of this?
You could certainly try.
If I use I see a perfect moment to mess with someone. I'm going to mess with someone. So I'm checking the rules with this on you to see if I can just do it. Rule to cool it. Just start using that and start changing colors to random stuff.
All right. Who are you? Are you trying to get a rise out of them, or are you just doing this for your own amusement?
I'm both trying to get a rise out of them and doing it for my own amusement.
Well, a slight problem. Those in the ethereal plane can't perceive color.
But the guy is currently not smoking.
He's gone into
yet,
a 1920s cartoon.
Not exactly. Everything sort of takes on this bluish gray tint.
But they can't hear sound, can't they?
No. The way it works is in the ethereal plane, it's sort of like being a spectator. You can hear, see, and perceive just about everything. Sure, certain smells, colors, and certain sensories are muted or outright negated, such as touch, mostly because while in the ethereal plane, a person cannot interact with anything. But the way they're doing it, they're sort of straddling the line. They can still perceive everything, it's just muted to an extent, because other senses are suddenly lit up. In Azrael's case, his sense of smell and sight his sense of smell has been completely removed, and his sense of sight is, well, muted, but his sense of touch and taste are far more enhanced. If he could tell, he'd actually be tasting color at the moment, and he'd feel every minute particle of air touching his skin.
Oh, okay.
So, you do get a few of the goblins to kind of look on in awe as they see this blunt changing colors, but neither Toki nor Azrael seem to notice.
I really gotta watch myself.
Yeah, Azrael, you're just like, what the hell? It's at a certain point that you see a dog-like entity sort of dart through the camp. It looks familiar. You can't tell. Because there's no color to it. It looks sort of like a furless dog. It's got this sort of weird glowing effect to its eyes, and it has multiple tails. You think it looks like a dog. Looks a bit different. It darts through Octavius's chest and then out of sight.
What?
Octavius, you don't feel anything. What you guys just saw was a displacer beast moving over a large distance. Due to the fact that a displacer beast goes into the ethereal plane, that's why it's called displacer beasts.
I'm gonna walk up and just wave my hand in front of both their eyes.
You both see him. You can both react to him. Because it's not like their souls have entered the ethereal plane. They're still in their bodies. They just can perceive the ethereal plane now.
Yeah, I'm just like, because as far as I know, they're just both kind of just sitting there smoking.
Can we help you?
Oh, you look off for a second. I mean, you're always, but the freaky man over there was a little more off than normal.
We were all gonna get some sleep, but then we got high.
I was gonna do productive work
to burn my bandages and put on fresh ones.
Mom, you have to understand, the cat always looks mad or confused.
It's sitting here. Wait.
Jesus.
Ross snaps out of his daze.
I am not going through all of that again.
Nope.
Ross
Anthony.
wouldn't care, though. So it's fine.
I'd be slightly mad you guys didn't loot the bodies.
The burned, skinned bodies that were eaten by birds that were set on fire.
You never know. It could be like Fallout. Stuff could just randomly pop out of an eyeball.
Right.
Or it could be like Dead Space if you stomp it hard enough.
Just guys, I found 20 gold in this man's anus.
I know it's a weird thing. I have no idea what it does. I think it's supposed to heal me.
Okay, so Ross, long story short, we were going through a bit of a vignette of the past few days, but I guess now we're going to have to fast forward to the now. Long story short, you guys got ambushed and quote-unquote recruited by an orc war chief and his band of goblin buddy pals to help them clear some kind of taint from a surrounding forest. This is also because without their help, you can't get to the capital without dying to this taint, as they call it.
I asked to be paid, but I then immediately turned it down when they said taint.
Right. He's like, I don't want to be paid with that. You can keep it to yourself.
Oh, can I?
No.
Can I make it say it's like the day after I told the nun, like in confidence, that one of the goblin.
Yeah, you found a time like. No, you don't know if it's the goblin thing or the orc.
Yeah, I know. I'm just letting her know that one of them.
Did I ever do the proper introduction with
Yeah, you
Octavius or
explain to Anthony what happened.
Me and Octavius had a touching heart.
I was gonna say I can tell this is probably gonna be horrible because he's not even willing to explain.
No, it's not that. It's actually really a touching thing. We both tried to, Chris tried to share this history, but really couldn't find the words to use them. And Octavius went through and gave me perfectly good notes to use later, if necessary.
And then I realized, why the fuck am I talking to these people?
Well, because I opened up, and that tends to happen when people open up to each other.
No, you literally hit me at the right point in time to get that much information.
The real reason you're talking to him is because you know the more you talk to the others, the less opportunity Ross has to get you into another game of dice.
No, he was actually genuinely trying to be kind for that one moment.
Octavius went through some shit when the bodies were burning.
Yeah, he was trying to be kind and actually sympathetic, but that always comes off as sarcastic and mean.
Yeah, I believe the word you were trying to use was decent. But
yeah, a decent human being.
Point being, so we're going to fast forward. Octavius, at some point, you tell Alicia that you suspect one of the other goblins to be corrupted by the taint, or to be rotting somehow. And it was actually confirmed on day 3.
And
how was it confirmed?
When one of them went nuts and tried to stab one of you. Ganesh promptly threw him into the side of a cliff, where he died.
Can I be friends with the Ganesh person? Can I make friends with him?
He's an orc.
It's kind of hard. He's a full-blown orc, and he's not very and he doesn't seem very keen on talking. We'll fast forward to the day 4, beginning of it. You guys eventually make it to the camp. It's this massive, almost appears to be city built into this sort of midway of the mountains. At the very back is set a large, what you can only assume to be lodge, made of brick and wood.
Fancy.
Unfortunately, the moment you guys enter the camp with Ganesh, 5 guards with spears come rushing at you.
Do we roll initiative?
No.
Dang it.
What? I zoned out there for a second. What?
You're at spear point. Ross, what are you trying to deceive here?
I'm not at spear point. You can make me at spear point.
No, I was busy.
Ross, are you trying to employ the it's opposite day thing?
I was busy scrolling through the character sheet.
It just makes more sense that you're trying to deceive the spears that you're not there.
No, just trying to deceive the spirits. No, your pointy end is on the other side.
He pulls his hood down. If I can't see them, they can't see me.
Right?
Why are we always getting
Ross-
held up at Spear
Ross-
Point? This
Hey,
is the
Ross-
second time
no.
in like fucking 3 hours.
Guys, Ross is just trying to deceive himself into believing he's not allergic to getting stabbed.
Okay, because I was gonna say, sadly, one of the guards almost believes you. One of them rolled a 5 on insight. Everybody else rolled 18s.
You're going to try
that
to
was what I
steal
meant to roll.
directly in front of people.
I'm gonna use one of you other guys as camouflage.
All right, the group appears one person smaller.
Okay,
I
so there's
see
spiders
you.
nearby.
I don't give a shit if you see me. You don't have a spear.
I have a mace.
Okay, I gotta ask, Brian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm probably gonna do, but are there any fires nearby?
No.
Dang it.
At
Any
least.
open doors?
What races are these people that are holding us at
I
Spear
assume
Point?
orcs.
Goliaths, orcs, a few humans. You see a few tabaxi in the mix as well.
All right, I'm gonna raise up my hand and say, all right, let's all calm down here. We were sort of
I
invited.
turn to Gardesh and ask him if they're with him.
Gadesh just looks back and motions to stay quiet.
Great.
So I guess they don't care about my plea.
I'm assuming none of you know Giant.
I know Infernal, that's about it.
Nope.
Let's see. I know Common, Draconic, Elvish, Gnomish, Halfling, and Orc.
Why can't you know anything useful?
Well, most of the things I run into in all these campaigns I've ever played is
Well, I know plenty of goblins.
Draconic, Elvish, Halfling, and Orc. I just told Gnomish because it sounded cool.
Oh, that is cool, Dad.
Forgot the dwarves.
Yeah, Toki, you're so cool. You speak short people.
I speak two different versions of short people, thank you. I speak Halfling and Gnomish.
So, none of you understand as he speaks in this sort of guttural style. Toki, it sounds very similar to Orcish, but the words don't make any sense if you try to frame it in an Orcish mindset. He's specifically talking to one of the larger beings, the middle person with a spear, who's about a good 1.5 feet taller than everybody.
If this person looks familiar to anyone, are you bringing back that one character already?
No.
Okay,
He's
good. I
just
was
a
worried
random
about that.
half giant.
Oh, half giant. Never mind.
They have this sort of brief conversation.
You're an exception.
And eventually, he borks something out, Common saying, "Lower the weapons."
I don't have my weapon up.
He was talking to his own men.
Oh.
Turns
Seems
to
like
them.
a,
He
seems
turns
like
to
a
them.
weird place to turn to Common, but whatever, Mr.
He's
Giant
saying
Dude.
that because most of the others aren't half giants.
Until I feel the woman's hands upon me.
He looks to him.
Cooling hands.
I ask this because it's my nature of this character. Are there any ladies in view?
Yes. Most of them look like they could break you. Most of them are fairly muscular. There's a few that appear to be thinner, but most of them are either like bone thin or like muscled up.
No tone.
There's no, there's like no, it appears it's either bulky or thin to serve in a stealth role.
So athletic and very, very built. Got it.
Yes.
Fine.
So, would any of those fit your tastes?
They're female. They definitely fit his taste.
Hey, we're not dealing with Scanlan. He might have standards.
I would be surprised if Octavius, though.
But I'll ask again, Mark, does that fit any of Octavius' proclivities?
Honestly, it's easier to short what he lists what he doesn't like.
That's the shit I don't like.
Must be female. There. All right, so
must be of legal age.
Yes, that is definitely one.
Now,
I actually need to write down his list. I didn't write it down before. But yeah, legal age, female, not like I'll send you a list later. I need to write it down.
Says Octavius is just getting really picky all of a sudden.
I'm gonna try to steal something off of Octavius real quick.
I can see you doing that.
Shut up. This might help. We have whiskey.
I grabbed your hand from trying to take my shit.
Die.
No, this might help. We have whiskey. It's not strong, but it's still good. Does that help at all? Or?
Great. So, no more spears. That's a promising start. And they speak common, which is also promising, I guess.
So, Brian.
Oh, where did my Brian go? Oh, where could he be?
Okay. So, I'm thinking he's done with the shenanigans for now.
Or he's typing shit.
Sorry, I was looking at notes, but point being, the other spearmen lower their weapons. And eventually, they lower their spears and kind of look to the big guy. So, and the big guy looks to you. Gudesh says you can help.
Oh.
Follow.
Well, that depends. Can you throw me?
Maybe.
Yes.
They're more of a great partnership.
Doubtful. Follow. And he starts moving.
I feel like this is really, really about to get stupid if something gets thrown.
Yeah,
Gudesh kind of looks at
the
you.
thing that's normally getting thrown is you.
Once I agree.
I don't know. If I can get thrown to a higher height, I can be more useful.
How's Alicia feeling about this?
She's been quiet almost this whole trip. It's kind of like surprising.
Oh yeah, no. Alicia's been just focused on notes, on other stuff. She's kind of been out of it. Toki, what you don't realize is that at a certain point, she stole a good portion of your stash. And she's just been high as hell for a good portion of the trip.
Smoke weed every day.
I will notice eventually. And
No,
then I
you
will
will.
give her a stern talking to.
No, you will, but you won't know who took it.
Oh, I feel like the blame would be thrown on me.
I mean,
maybe.
I mean, at some point I would realize because this stuff has magical properties to it. And the first person that looks like they're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh no, she's been very good at hiding it. She just hasn't been talking. There's a major difference.
I'm gonna whisper to Ross real quick. Hey, Ross, you still there?
Ross is just gonna like,
Ross, you're currently hiding behind Chris. It's like
right.
you just look to him like
Just
kind of
Ross,
panicked, like shut
Ross,
up.
where are you? Kick him in the shin.
Good. Now I need you.
I'm following the big guy, by the way.
We're all following the big guy.
You're all being told to follow the big guy.
Well, I'm actually following the big guy.
Well, I am following the big guy too. I'm just Ross is hiding behind me right now, I guess.
Ross, yeah, no, Alicia's kind of like just striding forward. Toki, roll a perception check.
Oh God.
It's gonna be like nope.
Alicia appears to be out of it, but perhaps she has her own stash. You've known quite a few priests and priestesses of Drothan to actually be pretty affluent carriers. Hell, they're even into kind of heavier stuff than you. And that's saying something.
They're into heavier stuff than I am now.
En l'honneur de notre éminent invité, nous allons présenter des scènes
I had a rough childhood.
pour le rappeler de son
I would
That
guess.
is all I can think of right now.
Doesn't everybody have one?
What do you mean? That's all you can think of?
Oh, I'm gonna have some fun thinking up some encounters then.
All right.
Remember,
Mark, you realize the
all
power
those
of
say
this
not.
list gives me, correct? No, I know. But that means everything else is okay.
Honestly,
at
I
least
forget
it's not
what
random.
races are in your world. I looked those up from D&D Beyond.
So that means you're still okay with Tabaxi, the bird people.
I'm good with Warforged if you want to throw some of those in.
Oh yeah, no, Warforged. That's another one.
Yeah, no, you're not humping machines.
God, wait. Oh no! No, I just like Warforge's like lore and everything.
Warfarge?
Forge.
The Warforge.
Mark.
Warforge.
Said, shut up.
Okay, no, I really do like the Warforge's like lore and everything like that. It's really interesting.
If you want to tell me what races exist in this version of the reality,
I'll give you a list. I'll give you a list after this session is over so you can comb through and pick.
I'm actually kind of curious about what races exist in this world. I may have
I'll
actually.
probably have to. I'll probably have to do a list at some.
Yeah.
Yeah, homework that helps the DM.
Yay. So, anywho, we're all following this guy. Frost is still hiding behind us.
Yeah, no.
Nope, Ross is sticking with the group for now. For now.
You're eventually
See how
being
long it
brought to
lasts.
the large lodge.
What happened to your finger?
Okay.
From home, was being evicted. Someone Wexford's cattle.
We welcome our Irish brethren to the cause. Mr. Fitzgerald.
I'm tempted to try to sneak away, but I'll probably end up failing.
What about working women? They're like a trampled on too.
I'm gonna try to, like, while they're all walking forward, to stop and like sneak away, see if I can't find anything.
Nope, you're being watched constantly.
Dang it, I failed. Anyways, so
Eventually, you arrive at the lodge, and it's much larger than you realize.
wow. That's the third building I've seen that's larger than I thought it was. I wonder if it's bigger on the inside than it's on the outside. Nothing. No one.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at something. What did you say?
Oh, that's the third biggest. That's the third building I've seen that looks bigger than it is. Than I thought. I wonder if it's bigger on the inside than it's on the outside.
Why are you making that face up there?
I'm saying all this in character.
Ah, I've seen you've met the legendary blue box.
No, like my bag. I'm actually gonna pop this up just because I actually am using the bag of holding. I just keep forgetting to put it down.
The larger guy starts banging on the door. And the door sounds surprisingly
sturdy.
Yeah, thick. I would have chose.
I mentioned her to you yesterday. Miss Turner is acquainted.
He opens the door,
My ministers told me what to go
and
and found a republic.
it's this large, spacious area.
Really?
There's a small sort of open area that has a staircase leading up, which has this large bonfire-like fireplace in the middle.
My father used to say my tongue was sharper than the needle, but I mean no disrespect.
Several guards and other members of the tribe that are dressed in much finer clothing than what you guys noticed were on those on the outside sort of give glances over at you and give you sort of puzzled looks before noticing the half giant with you and just leaving you alone. He leads you up the stairs and around the bonfire to where there appears to be a small table set out. Appears to be set for 10. It's made of stone, and it has a rather large boar on it. Octavius, you immediately recognize the same rot scent from the boar.
Just so you know, there is no correct place for you.
The boar on the table?
Yeah.
My father was once a shopkeeper.
I would not eat that if I were you.
They know.
Should we throw the boar on fire? This is Chris asking, because, I mean, obviously Octavius knows what he's talking about. Should we throw the boar on fire or something? Burn it?
Proof.
Sorry, you said?
He said
Huh? Sorry. I zoned out there. I was taking notes.
The boar on
that
the
info-
table is proof of the disease, or whatever the hell it is.
Hey, Toki, you should eat it.
There's a boar on the table.
That's got
Yes.
the plague or whatever it is.
The taint. I'm telling, and Chris is telling your character to eat it.
All right. I reach into my bag and I opened up the compartment and I pull out these big leathery ass gloves and I slip them on and I take out.
You make the move towards the boar.
Yeah.
The moment you take a step towards, the large guy's hand grabs your chest and forcibly pushes you back. No touching.
That's what the gloves are for.
No touching.
Will you take my sister to dinner?
Roll an insight check.
All of us, or
no, just Toki.
Okay, why you?
Okay, it doesn't work. He rolled a 23. You get the general sense that you should not touch the boar.
Haven't I already been warned about most of this whole pestilence bullshit in the area? I'm just looking around to see if there's anything interesting nearby.
A lot of the stuff the people are wearing looks pretty nice. Though most of them looks like they could probably rip you in half if you just annoyed them, much less steal from them. So you're weighing your options. As you're brought around to the front of the table, there's a group of 3 people arguing. A somewhat older-looking woman, a rather young woman, maybe elvish, hard to tell at the distance, a younger human, male, very heavily bearded, and a gray-skinned individual sitting on a chair.
I was wondering, is the atrium closed for the winter season? Yes, sir. Please follow me around back.
The larger guy slams the butt of his spear, which you now realize is actually made of stone, onto the wooden floor, producing a rather loud crack-like noise. But the wood didn't crack itself. And the 3 stop arguing as they look up.
We're
Woman is the
okay.
first
Are we doing like druids right now?
One of them looks like a druid, the woman.
Okay.
Exactly. That is what is so great about it. One of the many things I might add.
The woman is actually the first to speak up.
Isn't true.
Vorig, let me guess. Another boar that even after gutted still moves? Or have you brought us something a bit more substantial this time?
There's real people. Real me.
Ganesh found the man, Elvid, as apparently his name is, sort of clears his throat. Ganesh, one of the scouts, found these people. Claims they can help. Oh. Well, I'd like to remind you, the moment we require the help of city folk, we'll go groveling on our knees back to the Imperium, flip up back to the Imperium, prostrate ourselves, and invite them to... And at this point, a very loud smash is heard as what looks like a hammer made entirely of stone is slammed into the ground. And the person who is sitting stands up to a rather dizzying height, almost as big as the big guy you were with. Corinthal, that is enough.
I'm gonna sit down on the table with my legs crossed and arms crossed, just waiting to see what happens next. Looking at notes, or are we try to figure out what to do with me?
Looking at notes.
Okay.
Corinthal, the elf, now that you look at it. Apologies, chieftain. I'll be with my sisters if you need my advice, though apparently it isn't needed. She sort of just storms out of the lodge. The human looks...
Telling me to keep an eye on you. Make sure you know what you're doing. You can rely on me, Miss Tony.
The older man, the younger human kind of looks awkwardly. I'll make sure the scouts are prepared. Tell them about this threat and anything that might slip through. And he leaves as well. The Goliath, as he is, removes the hammer from the floor. He sets it down next to the chair and sits down. Apologies. Typically, I prefer our guests to have a better perception of our kind when they first meet us. Unfortunately, my compatriots have just come to realize a truth that disturbs them greatly. As such, they are
It seems that they've found
likely on edge. I suppose you want an explanation as to why you've been brought here. What am I saying? Apologies. I believe I've forgotten my introductions. The man stands up. And I have to look at my notes to make sure I don't get the name wrong. My name is Orphan Rockfang, and I'm the leader of this tribe.
You're gonna have to spell that.
Olfan, and then just Rockfang.
Isn't that the orc or isn't that the guy, the chieftain that the two goblins warned me about during the first session?
No. They said, beware the black blood.
No. There was two goblins that I talked to.
The hobgoblins.
Yeah.
That was his brother, actually.
What are you talking about? Wouldn't he be here then? Or did I just not see him at all?
No. The brother's roaming around the lower parts wreaking havoc.
Ah.
Yeah, I would never have been there for that conversation, so. And I'm still sitting on the table, waiting for the introduction. Waiting for my turn to introduce myself.
Also, you were taken by the scruff and put down on the floor. the moment you sat on the table. Sorry, that completely slipped my mind while I was confronting notes.
It's fine.
But yeah, no, the moment you like went to sit on the table, you were picked up by the scruff of your collar and set down, plopped down on the floor without any real grace.
So like a dog.
Sorta.
I imagine more like a child. For some reason.
And then the guy, and then Ulfen sits down again. Alvid, you can go back to your post. You're no longer needed. Alvid kind of looks worried. Sir, they're outsiders. You really believe I couldn't take these city-born whelps? You think if I couldn't, I'd be sitting here? And he kind of just stares at him. Alvid. Of course not, sir. My apologies. And he leaves. The moment, and he kind of
looking this under my breath the entire time. Says, who said I was born in a city?
We were asked if we were forest or stone born. I'm pretty sure we all picked stone.
Yeah, that was what you did when Ganesh first asked you.
They weren't here.
Oh yeah, they weren't here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you guys never answered the question actually.
Yeah, you guys were passed out in the carriage.
Then Ulfen says, "Oh yes, all others that are not that are not my guests, leave."
Does that count for me?
Looks over his shoulder. It means you too, Alvena. Octavius, the weirdest feeling sort of passes over you. Almost like something kind of went through you as this tall, slender figure just steps out of your shadow from fucking nowhere.
And it's not rocks.
Wait, did they freaking have a shadow assassin in my shadow?
No, she just appeared out of your shadow. Big difference.
Okay, that felt...
She sort of just gives a silent nod before slinking her way out of it. And that is the best word, as she's like taking these long, purposeful strides out of the building.
So she just...
The moment she exits, the place is deadly quiet, except for the crackling of the fire. And now that it is entirely silent, you hear the slow, raspy breath of the boar.
Oh, I'm sitting here and I'm smiling really big.
And as you all look back, you see the head's still active. Like one of the eyes, which now that you get a good look, is like leaking this blackish ichor and is sort of clouded over with this milky white veil, is still like vaguely moving between everybody that's present. The mouth, like, which is currently just hanging agape, is sort of making these like barely visible movements. It's like somebody who's had their jaw dislocated trying to still move it.
Can I have Ross just make a disgusted noise and just melt the damn head? Just spray it.
Sure.
Just like he doesn't like it.
Most of the flesh is burned away, but the bone remains.
Burn.
I just freaking smack my forehead.
You can obviously see what threatens us then.
I don't see the reason why we're here. Most of the tribes I've heard being able to deal with stuff like this pretty easily.
Most of the tribe didn't believe this existed. I presume you've met Ganesh. Him and the Orkin brethren, they had an old fairy tale. A nightmare, really. They spoke of some abomination their god once made. Some warrior to fight in a war that was never meant to be. and they now speak that the same warrior has made its way here to recruit an army for its master that no longer cares for it.
Can I do a history check and see if I have heard of something like this before?
Sure, with disadvantage because this is a completely different religion. And,
Can I make a check based on music or stories of this?
Again, yeah, you can do it too, but again, both of you would have it at disadvantage because this isn't material either of you really deal in.
What about me?
Well,
yeah,
I will say I did work with a few orcs in the past, and may have talked.
Yeah, but most of them were city-born, not raised in the wilds by full Orcan brethren.
What about me?
And not me.
Yeah, I failed entirely.
I got an 18 history.
Am I going to have a disadvantage?
Yeah, because again, you haven't had any exposure to native-raised Orcan individuals. Everybody here is a full orc, not half orc.
What's wrong with half orcs? They die when they need to.
They're worse.
All right. Octavius, you vaguely have heard of this story, though it's usually gone by different names. Most orcs called it, most half-orcs you knew, you actually traveled with one for a while, he specifically called it the Dream of Black. Or was it the Warrior of Black? You can never remember. You think it was the Warrior of Oil at one point? Regardless, it sort of matches what he's starting to say, though some of the details are hazy. The rest of you, I don't know. Toki, you've heard vague rumors of something like this, and that the Orcish god did create a warrior that was never used, and as such just sat stewing in both rage and resentment for centuries or millennia in the god's plane of existence. But
we're level 2.
You've never heard any
demigod? What the fuck, man?
We're gonna kill a god. I've always wanted to kill a god.
Point being, he waits for you all to sort of reminisce.
Oh god.
Now up until a few hours ago, when one of our hunting parties brought and he motions to the boar on the table, that thing back. Most of the tribe didn't want to believe it existed.
Sorry, something dropped. So again.
Did they have physical contact with this specimen?
No.
Could you speak
no.
of one? That was directed at Toki.
I didn't hear that.
Could you speak normal for once?
Did they touch the animal?
Yes. But none of them ingested its ichor. Some call this the threat of the gods, some call it the end times for their species, some call it a fairy tale realized. You want to know what I see it as?
A threat?
A threat to my people. Now, every time my people have tried to find this threat, they've come back to me like that. At least that's what Godesh and his men told me.
How do you know Gadesh isn't doing this to them?
Godesh might be many things. A kinslayer, a murderer, a man who could do many things. But murdering his fellow tribesmen, that's not one of them. He might be strong, but he's not smart enough to make things like this.
He could be working with someone.
You presume I wouldn't know when my own are conspiring against me?
Who says they're doing their own will? what you say is true. It could be possible he's infecting him without you knowing.
Do you know where this place is more concentrated? Where they're coming from?
Good. Ulfin stands up and comes and sort of strides over to right next to the boar's body. And walks over to the boar's carcass, where a map has been laid out of the northern region of the Imperium. Several paths and areas have been either circled or marked down in like this black charcoal-like substance. He points to one larger circled area. Here, supposedly 3 weeks ago, someone claimed to have seen lights streaking through the sky. Something crashed there. What sounded like thunder, but struck like lightning. Carved through rock. Carved through the mountain itself.
Did it land by any known villages or?
No.
Any water?
It landed in what once was our hunting grounds.
So which one are we more likely to run into? More of you or more of that?
I could not say. Given that we have only just realized these things exist, I would like to say we would run into more of my kin than of that thing's kin. But I cannot waste my men or my resources hunting down fairy tales. At least that's not what my fellow tribesmen would say or think. In 5 days, we have a meeting with the members of the Imperium's council. If we appear weak or scattered, they could seize upon us and subjugate us for thousands more years, as they had done in the past. As such, I tasked Gadesh with finding city folk like you. Those willing to get their hands dirty for money, payment.
They're in it for the money. I'm in it for the knowledge. And I turn to the board and I kind of look at it.
Don't touch it. It seems to be a disease of some kind, but you can't tell.
And then right after that,
a blank. It's not magic, or at least not at the moment.
And then I'll burn a spell slot for this.
Evil. Though, you get the sense it's deeper than that. It is only evil through your perception. But you get the underlying sense that whatever substance does control it isn't strictly evil, but rather acting in such a way because it does not know what it is doing is evil. Its actions are evil, most certainly, but perhaps perception of it is not the same.
Natural. Makes sense.
Othin takes his seat again.
So I know it is a disease. Of what type, I am not sure. It doesn't seem to be
It's
magical
parasitic
at the
in
moment.
origin.
So it's some type of parasite.
Yes. No. Yes? It keeps changing. 1 minute it's a parasite, 1 minute it's a virus, 1 minute it's a pathogen, 1 minute it's a flu. It keeps changing.
So it's a disease that can change what it's detected as.
No, it's a disease that is constantly shifting what it is.
So the immune system can't fight against it. Because
Possibly. Or
it
maybe it's
doesn't
just
know
a
what it
disease
is.
that naturally shifts. Yeah. You don't know. Effectively, you're unable to actually detect what it is for some reason. In that the answer keeps changing before you can get a good bead on what it is. So evil, but technically not, and a parasite, then a virus, then a flu, then a pathogen.
So, are we basically dealing with something Eldritch right now? This is all out of character.
Possibly.
I feel like we're dealing with a scientist that made something that he could not comprehend and locked it away, and then somebody has stumbled upon it and it has gotten out, and anything that is scientifical that cannot be explained is almost incoherent from magic. I'm talking out loud, but I'm not looking at anybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna like point to the fire and say, I'm gonna burn this thing now.
Very well.
I'm gonna pick a log up from the fire and like place it on top of it. Do you want me to roll for anything, or
roll a general constitution check, because this thing's kind of creeping you out.
all right? You don't want me to make a all right. Well, even more reason for me to burn it faster. That was a 4.
You.
Yeah, you, and you kind of like, you try to pick up the corpse, but like a sudden movement from it.
No, I was picking up the corpse. I was taking a log out of the fire and putting it on top of it.
Wait, you're moving fire?
I'm taking like a log that has like a bit exposed from it and putting it on top of it.
Yeah, no.
You've never done that before?
Yeah, no, I know what you're doing, but you're doing that inside of an all-wood establishment.
Yes, I know, and I'm putting it on top of a burned table.
Table isn't burned.
A stone table.
Yeah.
Is the table stone?
Yes, the table is stone, but you nearly dropped the log halfway through. You jam the log into the stump where the head was, and the corpse slowly starts burning and filling the air with that pungent odor again. Thankfully, there are windows at the top where the smoke drifts through, but the scent lingers.
Now we're gonna watch everything again.
Now I have to burn my bandages again.
So, and Olfan speaks up again.
I have to cover myself in gunpowder.
I suppose what I'm getting at is... You are adventurers, no?
Yes.
I'm a guy who likes killing stuff because it's fun. If that constitutes me as an adventurer, then yes.
So then, here's my proposition.
Is it gonna be kill it? I think it's gonna be kill it.
Partially.
Burn everything to the ground? Alright.
Closer. Find the origin. Exterminate it. Slaughter those you find. My men will clean the rest. And as for payment... 2 weeks ago, long after a star fell from the sky, at least that's what my men called it, a rather large hunting party, led by my brother no less, one of them, I don't speak of the others, led a group into the hunting grounds to find food. They haven't returned. I've long written them off as dead, and most of my scouts say the same. They held artifacts with them, artifacts of my kind that would be worth, at least what I'm told, a good sum of money from your kind. Find their bodies, find the relics they had, and
return them back to you?
You may keep them. It will be your payment.
Ooh, a puzzle and a mystery. Consider me intrigued.
More trinkets for me. Yay.
Olfen stands up and holds out an arm and holds out a hand. Do we have a deal then?
I grab his forearm like the Beastmaster. We have a deal.
He squeezes. Roll a Constitution save. Dude, you're essentially like a twig to a trunk here.
That's a 1.
You hear something crunch.
Where's our healer?
And you take...
So 10 points of damage. Wait,
6 points of damage.
I'm still smiling, like insanely happy smiling.
Olfen kind of looks a bit worried. You'll have lodging here for the night. You leave the next morning. May the spirits of the wild guide you well on your hunt. And that is where we'll end it for tonight.
Ah, darn. I'm gonna go climb to the roof and hide there.